Hello everyone, I'm Baruffy1322 and welcome to the first round of the Multi-Class Endurance Championship Season 4 held on Blaine County 24 hours. As we see the start for each race, you can see that we're in the Supers class for this round with the GT1 drivers in the X80 Proto, GT2 drivers are driving the Vacca and GT3 drivers are driving the Silent Voltics. For all the information you need about this championship, feel free to click the link in the description. It will take you to a spreadsheet and where all the rules are, the entire race calendar, and everything that you need to know about the entire championship is all listed. If you just click that link down below in the description, you can see everything. But obviously, as we go through the course of these videos, I will be explaining various things in addition to the races themselves. So here we are on the start line, ready to start the Multi-Class Endurance Championship race. I'm in GT2 and I'm starting at the back of GT2 as well. In 9th place, we've got 9 drivers in each class. As you can see, the GT1 drivers have gone off first, and then we're only racing against everybody in our class. So I'm not worried about the X80s, I'm not worried about the Voltics, I'm only worried about the GT2 cars, and I get a really good start, and then it's more the second phase of the start procedure that goes even better for me. I get a good run going into the first corner, and from last place on the grid I actually end up in 3rd place overall with various crashes going on around. I end up getting overtaken by Brady to go into 4th place, but that's still a pretty good first corner there to go from 9th place and last place on the grid up to 4th, and that's pretty much the best start I could have hoped for at this point. And so, you know, at this point everybody's settling into the race. I am in this sort of lead group. There's been quite a few accidents behind. We'll see more perspectives from the start of each class in a short while, but there's been sort of more accidents behind. So there's a group of 4 of us that you can see here, and then a big gap to a group of 5 behind. So I'm just settling into the race as everybody else is doing. It's a long race. These races are an hour and a half long, so you know, you want to just take your time to settle in. And then something amazing happens with 2nd and 3rd place of Drubert and Brady both going a little bit too wide on that corner and ending up going, you know, off the track, and I'm up into 2nd place. So after half of a lap, well, probably not even a third of a lap, I've gone from 9th up into 2nd, got my absolute dream start to the Multi-Class Endurance Championship. Best start I could have ever hoped for from last on the grid. Really didn't expect that. But let's go back and watch the action from GT1 first of all. We've got Murphos, who is my teammate on the right hand side, also starting in last place, because in terms of the race starts, the grid order is that everybody in each GT starts in the same in each position once throughout the course of the championship. So I've started in 9th place. Everybody in the Ron Racing team started in 9th place for this round. We won't be starting in 9th place for the rest of the championship. We all start in 1 position each. So we're all starting in 9th place in the Ron team, and obviously Murphos has made his way up to 6th place by the first few corners. We've got Paga on the left hand side for the Nutsaki team. He started on pole position and he's managed to hold on to that pole position, but he's got some very staunch defending to do to keep Oracle behind him. But then there's an incident that happens between, I believe it's Oracle and Cirrus that are just behind, that gives Paga a little bit more of a bit of leeway at the front, and it also means that Murphos leapfrogs 2 of them into 4th place. So 2 cars out of the running straight away for GT1, and yeah, this is what the Multi-Class Endurance Championship is all about. Getting back to making these videos, showcasing the action from all different angles, as you can see, and we'll be following all the races throughout all of these videos. But you know, specifically for this video, we're going to be seeing the action from GT1, GT2 and GT3, and I'm going to do my best to cover what happens in all of the races. You can see here the GT2 start procedure from a different angle as well, with Brady on the left and AJ Axel on the right, who did start on pole position but unfortunately makes a little bit of an error there. And then you can see on his perspective all the crashes that happen behind that, and that's what causes those 2 main groups to form, because the 5 drivers that were involved in that, obviously AJ Axel at the moment is still in 5th place despite having that crash originally, because there were quite a few crashes going on behind that as well. So we've got AJ Axel in 5th place, that with you know, he's sort of at the start of the 2nd group in GT2. He is getting pressured by Dr. Peppers here on the outside, but he does manage to keep it a little bit And then we've got Brady on the left, who is going to have that accident that we saw from my perspective in a very short while, in a few seconds. But you'll see that he does manage to actually hold it incredibly. Drubert is just in front of him. He goes a little bit more wide and does suffer a little bit more. But incredibly, Brady manages to flip it around and hold it, and he actually gains a position. He doesn't lose a position from that. Obviously, I got up into second place from fourth, but he stayed in third place in GT2 even after that crazy crash. So yeah, it hasn't been the best start for Ajax. So obviously, Brady had the chance to get up into second place when he was if he hadn't sort of been led into the corner by Drubert. But that is racing, and obviously at the very start of a race like this, at the very start of a season, everybody's just starting to get into it, and everybody needs to settle down. Everybody's excited and wants to do the best that they can. So you're always going to see this sort of thing. Obviously with GT3 in the Voltics, this was an interesting start as well, where we've got Sherritt on the left and J-Luke on the right. There were a few crashes, but not as bad as what we saw in GT2. My teammate Drumball's just ahead of J-Luke there, makes up a few positions, but then ends up losing a few later on as well, with a few chokes and mistakes. But Sherritt at the moment on the left hand side, as you can see, is in third place. We had Evil, who started on pole position for the Team Nutsaki. Obviously we've seen the perspective of the other Team Nutsaki drivers at the very start. Ajaxo and Paga, they both started on pole position. Team Nutsaki was starting on pole position for this race, so Evil has managed to do what Paga did in GT1 and hold that lead, hold the lead at the start of the race from pole position. We've got Jonty in second place and Sherritt in third, but we are going to see Jonty run a little bit wide as we come onto the back straight, and that allows Sherritt to get up into second place. J-Luke, on the other hand, has had a pretty good start as well from further back in the field, and everybody, like I say, at this point is starting to settle into the race a little bit more. This is where it's an hour-and-a-half long race. You need to just calm down a little bit, get into the race, get the first lap under your belt, and then you can start to see how things go. So that's the start phase for all the classes. So what you're seeing now is the start of the race in GT1, GT2 and GT3 from the Run Racing team. So you're getting to see the start of the race, a start of each race from last place. We all make up good positions at this very start, so we all did pretty well. Obviously it's very difficult starting at the back of the grid. Starting at the very front, and especially in first place, is a big advantage in races, but that's why everybody's going to start in first place at least once during the race. But yeah, really good start, and it's just interesting to see the entire race start for GT1, GT2 and GT3 from the perspective of everybody in the same team. So coming on to the end of the first lap, we had the GT1 battle heat up a little bit, with Paga losing the lead to Mr. Boxman. He gets an overtake done into that corner there and gets up into the lead of the race just before the end of the first lap. And we're approaching the same area of the track now in GT2, back to my action. Now, during the course of this series, the primary focus of these videos is going to be on the GT2 race on PS4, because that's the race that I'm doing, that I can best explain what's going on from my own perspective of my own race. But I'm going to also try and focus on the GT1 and GT3 battles and any interesting things that happen during there. Obviously cover what happens in the race overall, because we're all racing around the same track doing the same things. And also I'll touch on the Xbox One and PC versions of the race as well a little bit at the end of each of these videos. So there's a lot to cover in these videos, and hopefully we can get through it all. But as you've seen there, I got a really good exit out of that corner, out of the last double right-hander before the final corner, and I just got a little bit caught out by the braking of Amarogko, who's in the lead of GT2. But at the moment I'm pressuring to try and get the lead in GT2, and as we come round to the back the back straight on the second lap, amazingly I get a really good exit again. I start putting pressure on, but Amarogko makes a slight accident, hits the sign there, and I'm up into first place without any real overtaking necessary. Obviously I got a really good start. Amarogko wasn't to cause too much of a problem by that. He's still in second place, but amazingly I found myself up into the lead of GT2. So as we see from the first camera view here, as you can see, we had the Mr. Boxman in the lead, followed by Paga, Macy, Murphos, Trusk, Flaming Gun, Nico the rider, and then we've got Oracle and Cirrus in 8th and 9th for GT1. So that's the GT1 field, all settling into the race at this point, with Mr. Boxman leading the way after that overtake. And then we'll have the GT2 field come through the shot as well. I managed to get through the lead, to get into the lead. Obviously this is on lap 2 that you're seeing the action right now, so I got into the lead with Amarogco still in 2nd place. We've got Dr. Peppers in 3rd and Brady in 4th, with JWT Jack in 5th, all pretty close still. Mike in 6th, and then we've got a little bit of a gap further back until we get to Drubert, JB Carfreak, and then AJ Axo, who had a pretty nightmare first few laps. Then we've got AJ Axo's teammate in the lead of GT3, Evil, followed by Sherritt, as we saw, with John T in 3rd and J Luke in 4th. Then we've got Shady Fruit, followed by Happy Gster and Dromballs in 7th place, who unfortunately made a little bit of a mistake on the first lap after his good start, as we saw. And then further back, who got involved in a few incidents, we've got Apex Whiteout and Horst Demol in 8th and 9th places for GT3. So that's the full running order of GT1, GT2 and GT3 as we come on to the end of lap 2. And this is the sort of thing that you're going to be seeing throughout the course of these videos. You're going to be seeing great shots like this, thanks to Zero Striker, who is our spectator on the PS4 side. Great shots, great camera work that we're going to have throughout the course of the championship, showcasing the best of the racing, and I can give the best the best idea to you guys, hopefully, of what's happening during the races, with different camera shots from different people, in addition to these outside spectator camera shots as well. We're going definitely closer back to the season 2 style of things with these videos. So the first thing that's new for this season, for season 4, is mandatory pit stops. As we're seeing here, quite early on in the race, Brady in GT2, who was in 4th place behind Dr. Peppers, made his first pit stop. You have to take 3 mandatory pit stops during the race, and that basically just involves driving through the pit lane. You can obviously, get a wrench if you need to fix your car as well. But the lap after that, Dr. Peppers also makes his first pit stop as well, probably to cover off the Brady. Both of those guys seem to be getting a little bit held up behind Amarogco, who was in 2nd place behind myself. So those two guys have gotten their pit stops done nice and early. As you can see, I came through the shot there. Then we had Amarogco and JWT Jack. The first 3 cars that you saw there haven't made their pit stops. Then we've got a bit of a gap here until we see Dr. Peppers and Brady come through the shot there. Both have made their pit stops at that point. So we've got this interesting sort of tactical aspect relating to when people make their pit stops now. And as we come on to lap 10 here, we're obviously skipping quite a bit of a way because not an awful lot happened at that point. At this point in lap 10, it's been quite a long time since the race has started, and we're getting closer to the point where it's the last time you can possibly make a pit stop. With the pit stops this season, you've got to make 3 mandatory pit stops during the course of a race, but they have to be 20 minutes apart, so you can't just make and they also have to be taken on lap 3 or afterwards. You can't take them on the first 2 laps, so you can't leave them until the last 3 laps of the race, for example, because you have to wait 20 minutes from your first pit stop to your second. As we see here, I have a huge lead at this point, when we'll see from the spectator shot here, and that's because I am the last person in GT2 to make a pit stop. Everybody else behind has made their pit stops, and as you can see here, we've got Dr. Peppers and Brady have managed to leapfrog Amarogco into 2nd and 3rd places, with Amarogco dropping down into 4th. JWT Jack has dropped down into 5th as well after they made their pit stops. So now at this point in the race, I'm hoping basically that my strategy has paid off. I was out in the lead. There was no reason for me to make a pit stop because the only thing that could have happened was I fell back behind someone and got held up. So with me being in the lead, I just focused on putting in some good laps, and hopefully by the time I make my pit stop, which I'm doing now after everybody else, I will come out in the lead, and that's what I'm hoping at this point. And it turns out that is what happens. I do manage to get a good lead, and I've put in some good laps, and I've kind of extended the lead from the gap that you saw on the spectator shot on the 2nd lap. Obviously it was very, very close on that 2nd lap, but with Dr. Peppers, Brady, Amarogco all battling together, they've slowed each other down. I've just been out on my own after that great start and being able to put in some good lap times. And as you'll see, the best way to see this is from the mini map in the bottom left hand corner. When we come around this section of the track, you'll be able to see Dr. Pepper's in second place. His icon on the mini map is just coming into this section now, so I do have a good lead of about 6 seconds or so, and that is after everybody has made their pit stops. Meanwhile, just further behind the lap, or I guess in front, we've got a battle going on in the lead of GT1. Merfoss has managed to catch up and pass people and get up to battle Mr. Boxman for the lead of GT1, as they're starting to also overtake GT3s. So obviously the GT1s catch up to the GT3s a lot quicker, and then that's where the lapping happens. Obviously with multi-class racing, that's what it's all about, managing the traffic. If you're in GT3, you want to make sure that people who are in quicker cars can get past you without you losing as much time. Same if you're in GT1, you want to get past the slower cars. Merfoss gets into the lead here, as you can see, but it doesn't last for too long because he gets a little bit slowed down by the GT3 car in front of him as he's overtaking, and Mr. Boxman manages to get back up the inside. But they do have a little bit of a coming together, and ultimately Merfoss waits for that one and the battle resumes. And this is a battle that goes on over quite a few laps at this stage, because these two guys are fighting for the lead of the overall race, coming back into this section of the track, you know, trying it again, trying to get the overtake into the lead of the race. But yeah, this is what it's all about. You know, at the same time that I was making my pit stop and hoping that I would come out in the lead and trying to put my laps in, at the same time that the GT3 cars are all having a battle of their own, we've also got the GT1s fighting for the lead, and this is where Merfoss manages to get it done. Coming on the outside here, he hangs it around the outside, gets onto the inside for the next corner, and ultimately they go side by side for quite a lot of the way around this area of the track. Really good side-by-side racing action between these two, fighting over the lead of the race itself and the lead of GT1, but ultimately Merfoss manages to hold it in. Again, they do have it coming together at this corner coming up now, but again, you know, Mr. Boxman waits for that, and from that point on, Merfoss doesn't look back and manages to keep the lead all the way till the end of the race. So pretty good start from the Ron team. You know, myself and Merfoss are up into the lead from last place. Dromballs, who is my our teammate in GT3, has had a good start but then dropped back with a few mistakes, and then ultimately starts to try and make his way back up, so he's on a bit of a recovery drive. But you know, good racing from the Ron Racing team. And when it comes to the MCEC, we don't just have driver championships in GT1, GT2 and GT3, there is an overall teams championship as well, and the Ron Racing team has never won a teams championship. It's always been my team, and we came so close to winning it on PS4 last season in season 3, but we just haven't managed to do it. So my focus this season is all about getting good points for the team more so than anything else. But as you can see, beautiful shot here, beautiful spectator shot. This was originally found, this area, by Shaggy in season 2, and it just continues to be a wonderful shot during these MCEC races. You can see me going through the shot there at the bottom, and you can see the cars as they go through Blaine County 24 hours as the sun sets. If you want to see the entire sunset, you can actually do that, and I'll leave a link down below in the description. The entire it lasts about 5 minutes, the sunset. The entire video of that is on Bruffy's Random Bits, my second channel. But yeah, this is the point of the video where I can just take a little bit of a breath and talk to you guys about the MCEC. For those of you who don't know what this is, like I said, there's a link down below in the description in the first line or so that takes you to the spreadsheet with all the rules and everything like that, and it also has the race calendar on. So if you ever want to watch one of these races live, I spectate the Xbox One and PC races on Saturdays of the race calendar, and I race on the Sundays and the PS4 race. But it's such a huge event, the MCEC, with three different classes of cars racing. Obviously next week is sedans, round 2 is sedans, And then we go through different tracks, different classes each week. It's a 10-round championship lasting a few months overall, so it's a long championship, and it's something that I'm hopeful that these videos are going to showcase the best of the action. Not an awful lot happens for round one because it's the nature of the track. It is a much more long track, and from my perspective in particular, I had a very, very good race. As you can see, this is making my second pit stop with an hour done of the race, so there's only about half an hour to go, but I make my second pit stop, and as you can see from the mini map, at this point I've created an even larger gap, so I'm basically just able to drive away, increase that gap. Again, you can see the spectator shots, and you can see the sort of gap that we have from myself to Dr. Pepper's in second place, who is managing to hold on to second place, but they are having a good battle between him and Brady and Amarogko, who are in that second, third and fourth places pretty consistently, and they're having a good race overall. But yeah, you know, I had a very, very good race, and after the issues that I had on the PS4 Championship in Season 3, if you want to look back on previous seasons in this championship, we've done 4 seasons now, this is the 4th one, there's lots of racing action going on. I had an absolute nightmare of a championship last season on PS4. For me to have this really, really good race and be able to increase the gap every time I came in for my pit stop, and I was always the last person to do it in GT2, I noticed that the gap had always increased during that stint. It was really, really nice for me to be able to do that, because I didn't really expect that to happen, and I don't think a lot of other people expected it to happen as well. Nobody really expected me to be able to do anything, so it's nice that I've been able to come out in this first round and at least be able to compete in good old GT2. As you can see here, this is the first time that I got overtaken by the GT1 car, got lapped by my teammate. It was, you know, a good moment to see that both Ron Racing cars were in the lead. And this is just a little bit of a showcase of the kind of lapping that goes on in multi-class races. So I've been overtaken by the GT1, I'm getting overtaken here by another GT1 of Cirrus, whilst I'm also trying to figure out where I can overtake the GT3 of Happy G-Star. So this is going to be more prevalent in future rounds. The nature of Blaine County 24 Hours is that it is quite a long circuit, so even with big gaps between the pace of the cars, there isn't too much overtaking. The GT1s only overtook the GT2s once, they overtook the GT3s twice, and by the end of the race I hadn't even managed to lap all of the GT3s. I'd lapped some of them, but not all of them. So this multi-class racing aspect and having to manage traffic will be more prevalent in future rounds when we have shorter circuits and bigger gaps between the cars. But it's good to have this on Blaine County for the first round to basically get everybody settled into the season, get an understanding of what they need to do. Lap 22 here, this is the time where we lose Nico the rider from GT1. Unfortunately, that was the only disconnection in the whole race, so pretty good that we managed to get 26 out of 27 participants through to the end. And this is also where I make my final pit stop, just get overtaken there by Flaming Gun in GT1, and I make my final pit stop with 80 minutes on the clock, so only about 10 or 15 minutes to go in the race, and I'm just comfortable at this point. And during the stream when I was showcasing this, I really wasn't talking at all. The race started and I just shut up for the entire hour and a half, so it probably wasn't all that interesting to watch, but I'm more than happy to have a very, very boring race to be able to have a performance like this, especially for round one, settle into the season. Now this is just a little interesting moment that I wanted to showcase here. Coming to overtake John T. Obviously the Voltics are very, very slow in terms of top speed, so I was debating with myself whether to go for this, but I decided to go for it. I went a little bit wide after I got the overtake done, but this is the sort of thing that will happen in multi-class races. You know, you are going to lose time when overtaking slower cars, you're going to lose time when faster cars are overtaking you. Obviously the GT1s are always overtaking people, the GT3s are always being overtaken. In GT2 I kind of get a little bit of a mix, but this is the sort of thing that is always going on in multi-class races, and you've just got to be able to manage that, and we'll see that as we go through the course of the championship. the way that people do that is going to be key to how well they do in races and in the championship overall. So I haven't really spoken much about the GT3 battle because not an awful lot was really going on. Evil had managed to keep the lead from the start, and Sherrod had pretty much followed him all the way through in second place. But as you can see, Evil makes his final pit stop at this point. This is just after the action that we've just seen from my perspective as well in the shots beforehand. And going on to the final few laps of the race, we've got Evil and Sherrod separated by almost no time. You can see how close they are on the screen. We've got both perspectives here, and it sets up an incredible finale for GT3 that we're going to watch and see how it all ends up. Just amazing that really, you know, throughout the course of the race, Evil had been Mr. Consistent. He'd kept the lead from the start. Obviously started on pole position, kept the lead, but Sherrod had always been there or thereabouts behind him, and as Evil makes his final pit stop, Sherrod is right there with him, trying to get that overtake done for the lead in GT3. Obviously the GT1 and GT2 battles had already been pretty much done at this point. There was enough of a gap in first place for us not to really worry about that, but GT3 is really hotting up at this stage, as you can see. So this is the final lap for GT3 at this point. Obviously what happens this season is that the finishing procedure is slightly different, and we have the race finishes when the GT1 leader passes the line. So because the GT3 drivers have been lapped twice by the GT1 leader, this is their final lap. They don't do the last 2 laps from their perspective, and that makes it an hour-and-a-half race for everybody. That's standard multi-class racing stuff in real life as well. But Sherrod just manages to get the overtake done here. A little bit rough, but it just gets up alongside, but isn't quite able, because he's on the outside for the next corner, to get the speed all the way through. But as you can see, you know, this is the final lap of the race for these guys, and they're racing this hard for the win in GT3. This is getting very, very tasty at this point. Evil makes a slight mistake there, goes a little bit wide, and ultimately Sherrod manages to get through as the GT1 car is coming through as well. So at that point you would be forgiven for thinking that the race is done in GT3, but it's not over yet. There's only half a lap to go, and we've still got a race on our hands. But at the moment, Sherrod is in first place. He's managed to take away that lead that Evil has held for the entire race. Meanwhile, as this is happening, we have the leader of GT1, Murphos, who's held that lead since he got it in the battle that we saw. He is coming over to finish the race, across the start finish line. We're going to see the shot from the spectator here of the winner of the race finishing, and we also have a very, very close battle that we haven't focused too much on, but as you can see how close they are at the line. Mr. Boxman just manages to keep second place ahead of Oracle, who did a very, very good recovery drive after an initial error. Same goes for Cirrus as well, who had a good recovery drive in GT1, who manages to finish in 4th place ahead of Flaming Gun in 5th. So the GT1 cars are finishing. That means that these guys in GT3 definitely know at this point that these are the final few corners of their lap. They are waiting basically to cross the start finish line at this point, and they will finish the race. So we're coming into the final few corners, but what's happening behind Evo at the moment is that we have a GT1 car of Trusk just behind trying to get through. And you could question whether this is necessary to try and get through at this point, but as you can see, he overtakes Evil, doing nothing wrong really, but Sherrod gets a little bit put off by Trusk, and then Evil goes for a dive down the inside of the GT1 car that puts him into position to go down the inside of Sherrod in the final 2 corners of the GT3 battle. He gets the lead in GT3 on the final 2 corners, and then we come across the last corner here to ultimately see that Evil has managed to take that win. He held it for the entire race, got overtaken on the final lap, and then amazingly what happened at the end of that race takes it back again by overtaking a GT1 and then overtaking Sherrod as well. Just whilst that was happening, I come through to win GT2 as well. So I was extremely happy about that, obviously. And obviously, you know, when it comes to the fact that I was streaming this as well, you can see that my reaction when I got that win was I was certainly very happy about it. Like I said, after all the trials and tribulations of Season 3, for me to put in such a performance in the first round of Season 4. I was very, very happy about it. Yes! Come on! Yes! So for round 1 we had Merphos winning in GT1, I managed to get the win in GT2, and we had Evo with that last gasp overtake for victory in GT3. Pretty crazy already for the first round of this championship, but it's only going to get more interesting. We've got 9 more rounds to go as well. When it comes to the championship positions, they're obviously the same as the finishing positions for this race, you know, but we do have championship tables that I will be updating as we go through the championship, so you guys know where everybody is standing. The current up-to-date championship tables are also on the spreadsheet. When it comes to the teams championship, the good results from Ron Racing Team, which is my team, obviously with the 2 wins, and Drum Balls having a good recovery drive in GT3 to come up in 3rd place, gives us a very, very good start and a very good base for the season, but there's a long way to go yet. But that's not all, because we also have the Xbox One and PC versions of the race, and what we're going to be doing at the end of these videos is showcasing the start of each of those races from different perspectives. As you can see, this is the Xbox One version of the race. We've got GT1 in the top two shots with Ducati Doctor and Street Machine, and then GT2 and GT3 below. The story of the GT1 race on Xbox One was that King Blaze got a good start, as you can see in the top left, and ultimately drove away from everybody else to get the win. In GT2 we had Edible Hornet get the win there, who was, you know, significantly far ahead of everybody else, but we had a really good battle between Major Copyright and Equation for GT2 in 2nd place, which we'll see in a short while as well. And then in GT3, as we're seeing the start of the race from Matty H1812, he got a good 2nd place overall, but the race in GT3 was quite interesting because we had a lot of different drivers take the lead at some point, and we didn't really know who was going to win. Ultimately, it was Smack666 who got the victory there for his first win in the Multi-Class Endurance Championship. The same goes for Evil as well. That was his first win, and Merphos on the PS4 side. Quite a few first-time winners in the Multi-Class Endurance Championship, with some new faces and old faces as well. So, like I said, throughout the course of these videos, I'm going to spend maybe my hope is that they're not going to be any longer than 1 hour for these videos. Obviously, when it comes to the Multi-Class Endurance Championship, there's a lot to cover. There isn't just one race. There's really 3 races in one, with GT1, GT2 and GT3. I'm going to primarily focus on my race because it's the best one that I can explain. Various things are going to happen obviously throughout the course of the championship. They're not all going to be like this one, I can guarantee to you that. They're not all going to be like this one where I get into the lead early and drive away. That's not going to happen. It's nice to have that for one race, but you know, it's not going to be the same for every race. So there's going to be a lot of action going on in a very, very close GT2 field on PS4. But whilst I'm explaining what happened in my race on the PS4 side in GT2, I can also explain what happened overall in the race itself on PS4 in GT1 and GT3, because it all comes together. And obviously, you know, with the GT1s overtaking the GT2s and GT3s, and everybody's racing on the same piece of track, it's basically 3 races in one. So I will have the ability to try my best to bring you the action from multiple different perspectives across multiple different classes, and I'm hoping that I can just explain what happens in each race as best I can. I can't give the story of 27 drivers on PS4, 27 drivers on Xbox One and 27 drivers on PC. There's no way I can make one video that incorporates the stories of all those drivers. So I'm going to focus on my race on the PS4 side, and then explain what happened in terms of for the lead of GT1 and GT3 on PS4, and any major highlights that are happening behind that as well. And then when it comes to the Xbox One and PC races, we're going to spend, say, 15 minutes at the end of each race like this, where we see the first lap from GT1, GT2 and GT3, as you're seeing here. I explain what happened in the races quickly, go over who won the races. We've still got championship tables for Xbox One and PC as well. And we'll also see various highlights that, you know, like I said, we've got a good battle between Major Copyright and Equation for the GT2 second place, so we're going to see a little bit of a highlight of that as well. And that's generally the way that I'm going to structure the end of these videos. So we're going to be covering all of the races in as much as I can. Obviously the PS4 side's primarily because that's the one that I'm racing in, but we're going to be focusing on Xbox One and PC as well, and I will give you the stories of the entire championship across all the platforms as best I can. Like I always say, all of the information is in the description for when these races are happening, and also links to the channels of the people of the footage that you're seeing here is down below as well, so you can follow the MCEC from multiple different sources. You don't always just have to wait for my videos. And like I said, I am streaming these races as well, so I do spectate the races for Xbox One and PC on the Saturdays, and then race on the Sundays on the PS4 version. So if you want to get an in-depth view and actually watch the races unfold as they go through, feel free to tune into the streams on the dates as they are in the race calendar. Like I said, that's all listed on the spreadsheet. So this is the GT2 battle that I was talking about between Equation and Major Copyright. They're battling for second place in GT2, and this is towards the very, very end of the race. Major Copyright gets a really, really good exit out of the back straight there, gets alongside Equation, and then at this point, it's basically a battle of who's going to be able to just make it into that section of road at the end of the back straight first. And they're so close together, but ultimately at the very end, Major Copyright manages to just sneak into this piece of road as it thins out. They both make it through very well, so very good driving between the two of them, and Major Copyright holds on to that second place in GT2 after a good race long battle between them. And as you can see, here are the championship tables for the Xbox One as well, with King Blaze leading the way in GT1. We had Edible Hornet with the win in GT2, and Smack 666 with the win in GT3. But at the moment, the championship tables don't really mean an awful lot because they're just a reflection of what happened in the first race essentially. So they're obviously going to get more meaningful as we go on through the championship, and I will be explaining more about the championship rules. Now the PC race was characterized by an incredible battle in GT1 for the overall lead between Avivo and Smithy. As you can see in the top right, Smithy started in last place for GT1, Avivo started in 4th place I believe it was, but quickly got up into a battle over 2nd place with crazy stuff going on if you focus on the top left. And obviously the GT2 race is starting now. Everything that you look at in the start of these races when it comes to the Xbox One and PC race starts, it's all done real time. So we do have staggered starts. The GT1s start first, the GT2s then start after that, and then the GT3s start a little bit later on. But yeah, we had basically two long victories, quite big victories for Odan in GT2 and Benimi in GT3. So not an awful lot to really mention. There was obviously racing going on behind those, but as we'll see in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see how Benimi gets up into the lead and then never really looks back in GT3. Odan gets into the lead of GT2 and never looks back at it as well. So GT2 and GT3 were kind of not an awful lot going on. Same can't be said for GT1, which was an incredible battle to watch. Obviously, like I said, I was streaming this, and we have when I do stream these races and I'm spectating, I am in the race getting some spectator shots like what you saw for the PS4 side. So I'm watching the race from the side of the track. But in addition to that, I do have the live streams from various different people who are in the race as well. So the kind of thing that you're seeing now on the screen with the 4 different perspectives, we also get to see that kind of thing in the live streams themselves, and I'm commentating live over what's happening on the screen. And we had an incredible battle in GT1 at the very end of the race. Now basically the story is that Avivo made his way up into the lead. Michiski was in the lead for a long time, but Avivo managed to get ahead of Doom Penguin, who he's battling with now in the top left. He managed to get ahead, and then he was, from that point on, very similar to how Evo was in the GT3 race on PS4. He was Mr. Consistent. He made absolutely no mistakes, was in the lead from basically start to finish. Smithy, on the other hand, as you see, who you're seeing in the top right, he was overtaking people, putting in some really great laps. Then he might make a mistake or get involved in an incident with GT3 cars or something, and then he would drop back, make some more places. So he had incredible pace over a single lap, and he actually had the best lap of the race. But he was making mistakes. So he was the opposite to Avivo, who was very, very quick, but more so than anything was just consistently quick at the very, very front of the pack and didn't really have too much to worry about. So as we came on to the end of the race, Smithy had gotten himself up into second place, and it looked like he was starting to catch Avivo, and that is exactly what happened. Coming onto the final few laps of the race, Smithy was putting in some great lap times and ultimately catching Avivo for the lead. Now what happened is that Smithy made his pit stop first, and then Avivo makes his pit stop on the second last lap of the race, and that's what we'll see the highlight of once we've seen the action from this four-way perspective. We are basically going to see what happens on that final lap after Avivo makes his pit stop. Smithy is right behind him, and they battle for the overall win of the race, the victory in GT1. And I have to say, watching this live, we had both Smithy and Avivo's perspectives up on the live stream. Watching it live was just enthralling, being able to see it from both perspectives. Obviously I was able to see it from the spectator aspect as well, seeing them cross the start finish line, neck and neck going on to the final lap. It was a great battle, and this is exactly what the Multi-Class Endurance Championships are all about, and these are the kind of things that the Multi-Class Endurance Championship give us, not only in round one, but will continue to give us throughout the course of the championship as well. So here we are, coming on to the final pit stop for Avivo. We're going to see him make his pit stop. Smithy has already made his 3 pit stops at this point. Avivo is making his 3rd and final pit stop, and at this point Avivo is just wanting to make sure that he gets out ahead of Smithy. Now he has done that, so he's not at any risk of being overtaken before the back straight finishes, but obviously it takes time to get up to speed, whereas Smithy is at maximum speed all the way through that course of the track. So he catches right up, as you can see, and when they come on to start their final lap of the race, they are absolutely neck and neck. Obviously, you know, when you're leading a race and you have someone very, very close behind you it's everything is on the line. You are going to be somewhat slower than what you would be if you're chasing. So Smithy had put in some really great lap times overall, but it was, and obviously you can see them overtaking the GT3 car as well with great skill, but coming onto the final lap, this is how close they were. You can see it visibly, and watching this live was just incredible because we didn't know how it was going to end. But yeah, you know, whenever you're chasing, obviously Smithy is in second place chasing for the win. He's going to be hounding him, whereas Avivo is going to be a little bit more cautious and defensive. But Smithy makes a slight mistake, which was kind of summed up his entire race at that point, because he'd been very, very quick but made some mistakes. He did manage to catch up right to the very end, but ultimately Mr. Consistency Avivo managed to get the win that he'd held, the lead that he'd held all the way through. So fantastic racing between the two of them, and a really, really close finish. Like I said, the championship tables just reflect the first round and the positions there, but really, really good racing all the way through the championship on all platforms, and it's been a privilege to be racing this again and hosting this Multi-Class Endurance Championship for the 4th season. hopefully these videos have been entertaining. This video has been entertaining. It's more like the season 2 style of videos than compared to what we had for season 3. But like I said, feel free to go back and I would say I would recommend watching season 2 first before anything else. But hopefully this has been entertaining. Hopefully you guys are looking forward to another great season of MCEC action. 9 more rounds to go. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate all your support as always, and I'll see you next time.